Hi once again, and welcome to the Advancement Centre. Welcome to the world of magic and miracles, and to the new experience that we're about to have today. As I move around each one of you and start to become integrated with your communications, you'll feel yourself lift slightly. And as that happens, you can accelerate way out beyond anything you've ever seen before. The movement is easy and without any restriction at all. And I've taken you to where you always went as a child, in daydream state. And now if you want to, you can look anywhere. You can look down on yourself. You can go for a walk across the paddock, over the local streets, down to the beach, and experience that newly formed, easy dimension that's replaced the parallel dimension you used to use for daydreaming. It's now available 24 hours a day, without restriction and without any consequence. Because of this, we're now able to form anything we like in this world that belongs to each one of us as individuals. By the movement you have formed, not only a dimension, but a bigger world that incorporates the world beyond worlds, reflected into this world, everything you brought with you, and the greatest gifts the earth can give you. And that is the energy fields that support you, keep you alive, and create the impossible. So the more I work with this communication system, the more you will feel that it has nothing to do with words. It's all to do with our personal interaction, which is so precise and so elegant that it holds us all in a perfect space. The fact that we're sitting on ground doesn't mean anything. And all the exercises that we've done over many years have prepared us for right now, where we can just move anywhere we like, without reason, without practice, and without caring. The more you move in this free space, the more you will understand that hidden language that tells you exactly what to do every moment. We find in our life that we get signals, but now the language is becoming clearer, and you can just follow your inner senses without passing them through your brain at all, or without using any logic, or without caring, because it is that natural flow that looks after you, services you, and keeps the mischief in your life that you need to maintain a smile. The mystery is such that nobody can figure what you're doing, and you can't figure what they're doing, but you can feel one another, and you can feel the beauty of each person's presence. But more so, you can feel the beauty of your own presence. It exists in so many different ways that I could speak for 10 years and never describe it all. Every aspect of each person appears not throughout one day, but throughout many lifetimes. And so if you've had a feeling of another lifetime, you'll find it's in an aspect that just popped in and introduced itself once again. And in that aspect was a whole lifetime. And that is what gives you a thrill out of nowhere and makes you wonder all sorts of things. But then the next thing pops in and that's gone. So fortunately, we have a system that takes us everywhere, but not all at the one time. If it was all at the one time, you'd be like me, a little bit more crazy. If you hear the traffic and you only hear the traffic and you don't use that innate skill that allows you to hear the horn or someone speak or a light beeping to tell you someone's going backwards, you would never be able to get around the town. It's the same in the universe. You have this selective hearing and selective vision that will guide you if you follow the natural senses that you don't understand. If you tried to figure out how you can hear different things in the traffic, you would be in the university for the rest of your life, attempting to measure what doesn't show up as anything different in our existing measuring systems. And so when I talk about communication, it's a communication that has no reason or rhyme about it. It can't be measured except by you. And that's why you can detect whatever you want at any time, any place, anywhere, and you can decide what you're going to focus on. But you don't do it through your brain. It's a little bit like the story I told in Your Personal Supercomputer little booklet of the young boy who walked into a telegraph pole. For a while, he was totally focused on the shock of walking into a telegraph pole because he was daydreaming. And somehow he skipped out of the system that guides him around telegraph poles. And after making a real scene in front of his friends, it took 3 telegraph poles to reprogram that part of him such that he didn't have to worry about telegraph poles anymore. And he could walk along doing all the things he normally does, looking at the girls, talking, facing backwards, doing all the things that kids do, and never running into a pole. It's exactly the same now that you can move freely. You won't run into anything because you've spent all the time making sure that you feel other people in a different way to what you do when you're standing on the ground. And so you know that you're not running into anyone, but you also have that sense of mischief where you'll go that close that you'll attract their attention. It's like young children on bicycles. They almost run into you just to scare you. And that little sense of mischief is all we need to generate that fire within us that increases the intensity of our field at any instant to offset a collision. It happens when you're driving down the road. Someone comes a bit close, the hairs stand up. There's so much energy comes out of your body that you have to respond, even though you didn't see it. This will happen more and more so that we are guided through this maze that we were given to play in. And we'll stop naming things simply because they pass. You don't sit and name every car that goes past you, even though you know who it is and what it is. You don't record all the number plates. You don't do all that. You experience the drive, or you experience the thrill of moving through the traffic, or you experience the thrill of having no traffic. But you're experiencing a thrill. You're not experiencing something you can define. In where we are now, the thrill of just being here and knowing all the movement around you is there, but you don't have to focus on it. Gives you a sense of security and excitement for the future, because you know there's all this new stuff that you can go and play with, and you don't have to be serious about it. When we do these sorts of talks, there are so many things that you could list, and you could list them to remember, or you could list them in case they went wrong. If you don't list them at all, it all gets done. And people interact easily and freely. And okay, we might not get everything the way the rules say they're supposed to be, but it's exactly right. And it suits everyone, and it fits into the area where sometimes you have to laugh about what happens. But it all comes out exactly the way it's supposed to. And there are ways of compensating for all sorts of things, but you don't have to. It will be signaled to you immediately in the world where you can just move freely. And if a project doesn't work out, the experience is what you wanted, not the project. If the life pattern doesn't work out, the experience of it is what you wanted. Change the pattern. There is nothing to tell us now that you have to hold anything. There's no sense of measure that works. And so all the rules that have been imposed on your body, stuck in your brain, if you'd like to put it that way, are no longer of any use, because everything is changing so much that you're not comparing relevant things. You're trying to compare apples with oranges. It gives you an answer, but it doesn't take you anywhere. So in all the comparisons that you feel coming up, they usually come up in the form, oh, I shouldn't do that, or I should look like this, or, wow, I'll have to do this, or I'm going to give that up. All those things are comparisons to standards that are no longer applicable. And so there is a really, really simple method that changes every minute, but I can tell you what it is right now. And that is, each time one of those things comes up, if you can look past the comparison and see what you're comparing with, and never try to change it, make it visible 3 times, just like the young boy did with the telegraph pole. It will disappear out of your system. Now, that might be different tomorrow, but you'll all figure it out for yourselves. And it's always different for everyone, every minute. If you just chase it for a few seconds, you'll get your own answer. And if you consciously want to look for all the things that are holding you back, it's no use looking at the result of the comparison. You have to look at what you're comparing with. And we're being taught to look at the result of the comparison and try and change it, which means you have to change what you're doing. But in fact, what you're doing is what you're led to do, but you're doing it in a tin can where you keep running against the sides because they've been put there to stop you doing anything different. And you don't have to worry about who put them there, because many, many, many times you do it yourself. You'll have something doesn't suit you, and you'll make another set of rules. Someone comes too close to you, going around a corner, you throw out a big energy field. It's like a big green spike that goes straight through the car and into the person. Don't do that to me again. And then you stick one in yourself and says, don't forget. Every time that happens, you've got to shoot this spike out at someone. And you walk around after a while and you've got 10 million energy spikes sticking in you that you can't recognize. So as we lift above the earth field, they melt. They only stay there because you created them from the earth's energy field. So each time you lift out, you'll feel them all start to fall away. That's why you feel the freedom of movement. Because all the stakes you stuck in yourself and everybody else and hooked them together fall away. So the freedom of movement can be scientifically proved. You can actually measure what happens between people when they upset one another. And they're not upset because somebody did something to them. They're upset because somebody did something outside their standard. And in fact, you don't need a standard because you came with one that you don't have to even worry about. You know that no matter what happens, when you're following your spirit, it'll all be okay. When you're working with magic, it works. When you're living in a world of magic and miracles, there are no rules. It's all magic. It's all about how do we do it. And if you ask how the magic trick is done, you'll get no answer. But you try to produce your own magic and you'll just laugh when someone asks you, how did you do that? That's the mystery. That's the magic of life, and that's the magic of where we are and where we're going. As you feel that unwritten communication affecting your being, you're getting more comfortable. And you're able to sit on the earth plane, right connected to earth, and feel as if you can be anywhere. Because you did not come back in to that same state you were in before we started to talk. You got comfortable and sat in a comfortable place, even though it looks like you haven't moved. That's the mystery that no one will ever solve. But you can use it. You can use it all the time. Just go for a walk out there, look around, laugh at a few people, go to places where you've never been after you've looked at your own area. And you'll always come back and say, I'm in the right area. I know why I live here. It's just a perfect place. And that can happen no matter where you go. Then as soon as you find you're comfortable, out of nowhere, you'll see that you're still sitting in the seat. It's like if you're in class when you're little. And they're not allowed to do this now, but they used to throw the chalk eraser at the kids to wake them up. And you just pop out of where you are. You don't know where you are in school. And the world's different because you're at the beach having the time of your life when everybody else is trying to study. This is what we are allowed to do. And this is what we can do now. Biggest thing is you won't get a shock. You'll find yourself in both places. you find your ability to move freely is based on the fact you can be in both places. And in the long term, all places. But we won't go into that yet. You'll gradually experience that you're in many places. But your focus will not necessarily be there. In the parallel world that we're just walking around in, that's so clear and easy to move in, you can have your focus anywhere and still see and feel everything. This is supported by the energies of the earth, the energies of your origin, and universal life force that we can describe until we're a million-year old and never come up with the true answer. Every one of those things are variables, just like the path where you follow your spirit, total variable all the time. And that's why we're safe. In that movement, there is total safety because there is no other who can follow it except you. And you can walk in amongst the most hazardous of places. As long as you follow your spirit, you'll be fine. The energies that are active on the earth are now active in the physical plane that extends well beyond the atmosphere. And so if you decide to go flying, you just boom, out there and start flying around or walking around or running or whatever with your eyes open, and you can look down, you can look up, you can look right over, and you can decide, oh, I'll go out and see what the earth looks like from out there. Boom, you're there straight away. Pictures there, a whole lot is real. Then you can head back from the other side of the earth and it's still real. And after a while, you forget that you're sitting in a chair and you're actually living a life that has no consequence. When you come back, you'll find there are consequences. But there are only consequences because you decided you would stick to what's painted on the floor. Don't look down, look up and walk over the painting, and there are no restrictions. In the path of advancement, there is so much that cannot be explained. But the knowledge of advancement keeps coming. You still feel that you're advancing, and you've got no idea how or why, except that you are stretching past what is normally a fixed focus. The simplicity of a fixed focus has now been destroyed because even your eyes won't keep operating if you have a fixed focus. Everything about humanity will deteriorate if it has a fixed focus. And what we're experiencing now is the ultimate of expansion, where our field produces an enormous physical area for us to play in. And it doesn't care that the picture that's taken of you sitting on the chair seems like you're still there. Each one of us can tell when someone is active somewhere else. because there's a clarity, there's no intensity, and sometimes there's a blankness as well. We're now about to integrate this new part of our life into something that is much bigger than what we thought. The world around us and the life around us is relatively small for each person. We're about to integrate what we've brought into the sum total of all of us, where that entity called humanity starts to smile by itself, where the whole entity becomes happy, and where all our definitions are sucked up into, wow, this is beautiful. So as we move into a break, I'll just take you a little bit further and show you the other side of the earth and its beauty. And you didn't even have to look. We'll be back soon. Thank you. Welcome back. During the break, I had a little bit of a feeling about where we should go next. And it led me to the simplicity of life, to where advancement actually makes life simpler, and how the magic of life is actually something you can experience without focusing on. We've found that we can move into areas that we've never been before. We have the confidence to build whatever we want. But we haven't got used to the simplicity of the fact that we don't have to physically make it into a monstrous building. We can build whatever we want in the world that we've just been visiting. We can have it for our attention, we can have it for the attention of our children. That will reflect eventually on the earth. Everything you put there will either be found by someone or stolen so that it can be built on the earth. We have a mechanism that we don't have to worry about. And that's the mechanism that takes what we build and applies it in solid form. And so the precision of what you form for yourself in a world that nobody can really see, but they can feel, is the most important part of everything. And being precise does not mean regimented. Being precise is in the random movement, in the formation of shapes, music, feelings, events that are not based on a fixed picture. To bring to life the most unusual without making it a fixed image. So as we work through each day, the tendency that comes from society that you have to produce exactly what someone has determined disappears into the childhood event of having to go to school. You're never there. You're always doing something else. And you don't feel restricted at all. You just wait for the moment where you can run free. And it doesn't matter if that moment doesn't come, because you're running free anyway. And you're creating things for the future that someone else might pick up. You're creating situations that somebody else might take on. But they're always perfection and they have no ramification. The love we have for one another can exist in that world without even having one moment of discomfort. And that's where the magic starts. When you can live without one moment of discomfort, the world and its physical matter will change to match that reality. That's quite different to creativity, because in that world you leave nothing out. You take everything into account. You have the perfection of the colors, of the visions, of the feelings, of the actions, of the excitement, the dreams, all of it far beyond the bounds of normal thinking. And in doing that, you're creating, but not in the same way. You are experiencing. That experience appears on the earth. So for someone who's experiencing perfect life, perfect health, they're going to have a magic future. Because they did it by focusing on the magic future. By creating it and testing it in the magic world we've just entered. In that parallel world that came to earth with us and allowed us to daydream and to live multiple lives in one moment. So the simplicity of all of that is what makes it work. Because you don't analyze, because you don't have to go through a process, because it's instantaneous and rewindable and easily cancelled or enhanced, you can display to yourself the massive skills of your magic, your miracles, and you don't have to worry about how they get into this world. You're there already. That's how they get into this world. You don't have to take anything and paint it on the wall to say it's here. You say, look at me. And you display through all sorts of channels everything that you are. The fact that we live in a world that says, well, you can't display anything unless you do it our way, doesn't mean anything, because our way is actually the way you all agreed to. Not by agreement after study, but by agreement by default. And so the agreement was with you, not with anybody else. So it's easy to change. Just get out of the space where it is and live in a space where it's not. And that's not saying you've got to move houses or anything like that. It's saying in an instant you can say, oh, don't want to be there. And it's done. But the best way is to don't even bother saying, I don't want anything. Just go to where you never have to say that. And in the world of magic and miracles, it's there instantly. Nothing about the future will change because of now. The future is what you see. And the future changes the direction of now. You may decide you're going to end up in another country next year. That can change the future. But in fact, the decision that you're going to be in another country is the future that you chose. And the direction changes because you chose that future. So at any time we can change direction, but more so, we can elect to live the special life that we brought to Earth. We now have the facilities to do that. It took a long, long time for everything to line up. And it wasn't until recently that everyone discovered there was a 0 point of energies, of activity, of all sorts of things that can be created anywhere. Now we went beyond that. We went through zero and into the place beyond reality, to where everything is totally exotic, and then into the golden age. And now we've come back and found all those attributes have always been around us. All we had to do was test the water once. And we say, oh yeah, okay, that's real. And the water's warm. It's beautiful, because I decided it was. And the place I can go to that I love, it's got palm trees and white sand and a beautiful ocean. And I can do it in an instant. But more so, I can just live a great life, no matter where I am or what I'm doing. And I can be in more than one place, operating more than one world, and demonstrating who I am to me. Then your heart starts to open. That is the only way the complete focus of the universe can come through you. When your heart comes open because you're happy with you. Not happy with what you're doing, but happy with you. And that only happens in the world of magic and miracles. That we all can say the words about, but are a little bit hesitant to live every minute. So I encourage you to not bother about focusing on it, but just walking straight in. Invite yourself into that world and don't come back. It's endless. It's exciting. It's full of funny tricks, and it's full of mystery. And it tickles every sense that you have, all day, every day, and at night. The direction is not important. But if you remember, I said follow that little sparkle that lights up every time you're not doing the same thing as before. And you'll enjoy every minute running around after this elusive, bright sparkle that makes your eyes shine and your heart just about jump out of its body. The mind will come in and say, how do you do that? You can make up a scenario if you want to prove it. You can fool your mind in an instant, and it will be happy. Because you can say, well, logically, if I do that, I'm always going to be finding something new. It'll go, oh, okay. And it'll get out of the road and start to help you. So don't hesitate to reprogram the physical. Don't hesitate to say, behave yourself or I'll get another one. Your body knows that it's there to support you. It knows how to repair itself. It knows how to feel comfortable. It's been trained to continue to disturb you. And so, take it on a good trip to where it just feels great, and then say, yeah, stay there while I do what I've got to do. And it'll always be happy. It'll always be healthy. And it'll always work towards your future. For those of us who have had experiences where the body decided maybe it's not going to stay or not, and we've had to say, well, please yourself, but I'm staying. it changes. And all of a sudden, it says, well, boy, I'm going to miss the bus if I don't do something here. And it changes totally. Everything about it changes. Everything around it changes. It's a very powerful exercise. I'm not suggesting anybody has to do that, but I'm just demonstrating the fact that your body is very, very capable. It is a magic piece of equipment, but it's not just the bit you can see. It is way beyond that. And it supports that universal being that came from way beyond the ages and decided to demonstrate itself on Earth. We can go through and look at what we're supposed to do next, and we can analyze it and study it, and we can try and get everything clear, and we can really work at it. And you walk outside and the bus runs over your car. You go, what was that about? A little bit of mischief. A little bit of try the direction we showed you. And all of a sudden, you find that you didn't need any of the complications. You really didn't even need that car because you were supposed to go and get another one. You were led to stretch yourself and you decided to be safe. You didn't do what you did when you were young and in love and said, I'm going to get a house, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to have a family, and you've got $1.50 in your wallet. But you do it. This is the excitement of where we're going again. We're not starting over. We're going there once more because that's where we went before we arrived here on Earth. That's what we experienced. That's why we remember. That's why I don't have to tell anybody anything. I only have to take them to where they remember. And it's not a memory in the brain, but occasionally that little bubble pops out where it does appear in the brain. And you go, I really do remember this. So let us enjoy where we're going from here and all the plans that we make. Enjoy the fact they'll probably be ruined by the time we get there. Because this is what makes everyone smile. When you can say, well, that was a waste of time. But it really did lead me to where I was supposed to go. And you get the message, no, it didn't. You did it all to waste time. You did it all because you wanted to control it yourself from here, and it doesn't work. But you can control it yourself from another place. And that does work. And the fact that you can actually test things in the parallel universe, in that parallel dimension that you're sitting in, where you can look down, have a look at the fields with the cattle, have a look at the ocean, look at the new rail cars, check out the weather, play in the clouds. There is nothing as magnificent. To settle into what they call a good life, where they have everything listed on the whiteboard, everything you've got to get, everything you've got to do through your life. Great. Until someone wipes the board clean. And you've got to write it up there yourself. In this world, we don't have enough resources to do that. And so we're standing there in front of the whiteboard day after day after day saying, well, what will I do now? What will I write down? What's the list going to be? What can I aim for? Oh, I've done that. No, I don't want to do that. That doesn't suit me. And you continue for years standing in front of the whiteboard wondering what to write on it as your future. The answer has come in the form of the magic that writes by itself. And it doesn't write on a whiteboard. It writes in front of your eyes every minute of every day, allows you to talk, allows you to speak, and have conversations that are leading nowhere. In that conversations that you all have, all the detail comes out. Just because you get together and you talk and you're reading the invisible ink. And it can only appear in conversation between one another. And that's our gift to one another. For the future, we don't have to ask anybody anything. We just have a conversation about nothing. And after that, you feel good. You don't know what you spoke about, but life carries on beautifully, comfortably, and with the sweetness of the interaction of the communication system that has more than you will ever know as a gift for each one of you. There needs to be nothing formal in anything you do. But the excitement of celebration, of doing things that seem totally stupid, or outside of the normal character, the best medicine for anybody. Because the normal character is one of those things that somebody else developed for us and we decided to take on. We may have even seen it in a magazine. That looks nice, we'll take that on. It's a good front and it has many, many advantages for a day. For the rest of your life, then you've got to keep it up and try and make it work. It's like buying an old car that somebody stole the motor out of. You've got to push it everywhere. And this is exactly what everybody understands. Now you have your own engine. You have power beyond belief. It doesn't have to be converted into mechanical power. You have excitement and self-drive that pops up inside you and allows you to jump out of the chair and do the impossible without even thinking about it. So what we're expressing is all of various angles that you can experience if you fool your brain sufficiently to tell it, this is really life. This is really what life's about. So the more you disappear, the more you see things lightly, and the more you look at mistakes as, wow, I wonder where that's going. That was a funny one. It's really not a mistake. It has a reason, has an outcome, but those outcomes and reasons don't mean anything in a world of magic and miracles. Somebody takes one shoe away when you're ready to go out, and you know it was there in front of you. You put the two together, that little bit of mischief is so crazy, but it might have saved your life. So many things are here just to make us look in a different direction while everything's cleaned up for us. Just to move us along that totally variable path that we keep saying, no, I want to do this. But if you follow that variable path, you'll find it's there anyway. The demonstration of the interaction of the worlds beyond our vision is about to really take off. And they will demonstrate it to you every day, even if you're not watching. The things that appear, the people that appear, the events that come out of nowhere, and the events you miss. Oh God, did I miss that? Of course you did. It didn't appear in your world. And there's always a perfect reason in the world of magic and miracles, and no reason at all in a logical field. So as we draw to a close, I'd just like to give you one more trip. This time, straight out, boom, look at the world. See the beautiful place you live in, and see how simple it is from a long distance. Thank you once again, and we'll talk again next week. Bye for now.